Welcome back, everybody. This is um, our first week back and a brief introduction to social psychology for this spring semester. So today we're going to talk. I'm going to do a brief introduction of myself. We're going to talk about participation, the syllabus, and then I went ahead and added some discussions about the contingency plan and kind of your timeline from here into the next week or so. So, a brief introduction about me. My name is Christine Thomas. Here's a picture of me and some of my fellow graduate students at a fall get together a year, I guess at this point, maybe 2 years ago. I'm the one in the middle in the white kind of striped shirt. And just some background. So, again, like I said, my name is Christine Thomas. My hometown, I'm from McAlester, Oklahoma. It's quite a smaller town. I have one sister and a niece who is now, oh gosh, now she's a junior in high school, which is just wild to me. I can't believe that. She is old enough to drive and she's getting ready for college. So that's very exciting. I also have two orange cats named Maggie and Mew who are sitting with me right now as I record this. My academic background right now, I'm a PhD student. I'm a fourth year PhD student in the Department of Sociology. My bachelor's is in psychology as well as philosophy, and then I have a master's in public health. In undergrad, my focus was more on substance abuse, adolescent substance abuse, and my thesis for my master's in public health focused more on youth and adolescent suicide. And right now, I'm focused more on social psychology, although I'm getting my PhD in sociology. An area of focus within sociology is social psychology. And that's kind of my current wheelhouse where I'm focusing on different residential institutions as well as um, what we call neighborhood effects, which is something we'll touch on just slightly. It's more in community sociology, but it looks at how where a person lives and how that affects certain outcomes, whether that be like group outcomes or I'm particularly interested in mental health outcomes. We can also look at educational outcomes. There's a variety of things in that area. So yes, have quite the varied background. This is my fifth year, coming up on sixth year, as a graduate teaching associate. And so I've taught a variety of courses. I taught total wellness when I was in my master's program. So I taught total wellness. I've taught intro to sociology as well as social problems, and now in sociology of aging. And then now I'm teaching, of course, social psychology, and this is my second semester to do so. And then I've TA'd for a variety of courses, including anthropology courses, criminology with Dr. Malone, gender with Dr. McLaughlin, and a whole host of other courses that I've kind of helped with. But I'm very excited to finally be able to teach social psychology, as that is more my main area of focus. So, some fun facts about me, because in your first activity, I'm going to be asking you some fun facts about yourself. So, I figured I would share. One of my useless talents is that I'm really, really good at pumpkin carving. Not so great at other similar mediums, but apparently I just have a real talent for pumpkin carving. And that's actually a picture of a pumpkin I carved a few years ago of Hannibal Lecter. I've also done a variety of other people, when Taylor Swift's Reputation album came out, I did the cover photo of that. I've done V from Vendetta. I've even done Ron Swanson. And so a variety of different subjects there. But yeah, it's one of my useless talents. But I don't know, maybe I could participate in some competitions next year. I don't know, we'll see. Um, Also, I grew up every summer at the lake in McAlester. My granny taught me how to water ski when I was like 4 or 5 is when we started, and we were actually featured in the local newspaper. In this picture, she's in her, I think she's 80 in this picture, and I was, mm, yeah, I think I was 8. I think I was 8 and she was 80, and so they talked about, yeah, this big age difference, and we were skiing together and featured in the local newspaper. So that was very exciting. And she actually water skied until she was 86 years old, which is super impressive. She also did other things, like she worked in, like, she had like contracting. Like one time we pulled up to her house when I was really little, and she was up on her roof, like scraping off shingles, like she was about to like re-roof part of her house. And she's in her 80s, and it's like, in the middle of a hot day, and she saw no problem with that. She was pretty awesome. And then finally, I can write with both hands, but not at the same time. And my non dominant hand's handwriting is not quite as good, but it's still pretty good, pretty legible, pretty good. So, moving on, now that you all have a little bit of an idea of who I am, getting into attendance. So, since this is an online course, I've had some students email me and they're not really sure if this is a course that will run synchronously, or if there will be days where you're expected to come in, or if it's, completely web based. And which I understand the confusion. I'm not really sure why the university posted the meeting times, because I specifically said, I don't really want it to be an asynchronous class. I just want it to be web based. I think it's more beneficial for those of you who choose to engage in the course through an online platform, that you have that flexibility, and where you're not having to log into a Zoom meeting, each day that we meet for class. Um, I think last semester that allowing students that flexibility was much more beneficial, compared to instructors I know who chose to have students log in through Zoom. I think it just kind of worked out better for you guys to be able to access the course in your own time. So, to be clear, this is an online course. It's entirely web-based. You do not have to log into Zoom at any particular time. We don't even use Zoom. I will be posting videos to Canvas and YouTube. So it's just a YouTube link through Canvas, but you can, of course, watch the videos through Canvas, of weekly lectures. And so some of the lectures like this one, I'm going to re record specifically for this semester. But many of them, if not most, will be lectures that I recorded last semester. And so if there's any information in the beginning that has changed, I will make sure to put that, or at least do my best to make it so that the video starts at the beginning of the lecture and skips over kind of that irrelevant information. And I'll make sure to post weekly updates and reminders, that are specifically tailored for you. But it took an obscene amount of time to record all of those lectures and to edit them. And I had some issues with the audio last semester, but yeah, it took a lot of time. So of course I would love to re-record all of them, but it would take, it was so stressful, and technology is not always reliable. So some of them I will re-record, but some of them will be lectures that were recorded last semester. So be keeping that in mind. But again, I'll make sure to post weekly updates and reminders so that there is no confusion. But they are the same lectures that I'll be doing this semester. So for weekly participation, since you are not required to attend the class, there's really no way for me to gauge participation, and I'm not going to like police how much time you're spending on Canvas. You are required to review the lecture in some capacity. Of course, I think it's more beneficial to listen to the lectures. To me, there seemed to be a very clear difference between students who I know were watching the lectures at least semi-frequently, and those who were just kind of glancing over the slides. There was a very, very big difference. And so I highly recommend listening to the lectures. And that's another reason why I put them on YouTube. We'll be talking about the YouTube channel here in a minute. But I put them on YouTube. I organized them in different playlists by week. And so I also post supplementary videos, just some additional, short videos that give you more information on the topic at hand. And those are organized into playlists with the weekly lectures as well as the supplementary videos. And so that's just for your convenience and flexibility, so that if you're driving somewhere, if you're, getting ready in the morning, or maybe you're at work and you're able to listen to music or, whatever, that you can get on YouTube and you can listen to the lectures or watch the supplementary videos on your own time. Um, which I think, again, is just more convenient, is better for you all. So you're not logging in at a particular time. So that's part of why they're on YouTube, is one, it's easier to link to Canvas, but also so that you can access them and listen to them at any time. And so that you're not entirely bound to the Canvas platform. So instead of attendance points, you will have participation points. And to receive weekly participation points, which I just say weekly, but it's really kind of by section, you must do the following. So you must submit an outline of the lecture by Friday of even numbered weeks, which is at the end of each section. The instructions for this are on Canvas in the course files in the participation folder, and we'll go over that here too. So let me go back. So it's at the end of each section. Your first outline is due Friday of next week, and it doesn't have to be particularly long, especially for this first one. And you're only really covering next week's subject. And so what you'll do is you will just list and define the key terms. So key terms you see, I'm not necessarily highlighting like these are the key terms. But I want you to identify them by going through the slides, which will also be posted on Canvas. So identify, define the key terms, identify and define the key concepts as you see fit. What do you think are the key concepts? And then, include two or three questions that you have for me to clarify some, like if you have questions that you would ask to clarify some of the information, that's your opportunity to ask me. And that's where I'll really be giving feedback. If necessary. If you don't really have any clarifying questions, then I ask you to include, a couple of questions that you might ask if we were able to have in-class discussions. So what questions do you think would be fun to talk about with your peers? And it would be good if you could clarify that in some way. So just say, if we were able to have in-class discussion, I would ask this. So that I kind of know the difference between a clarifying question and questions that you have for your peers. But I will not always provide feedback here, but I will do my best to always answer any questions that you have, so that we can make sure that you're clear on that particular section, and anything that you need clarified is answered. So that's why I do it at the end of each section. And so for these, it's you either get the points or you don't. Last semester, it was a headache to kind of go and, okay, I'm going to take off a half a point here because they're worth like a, a little more than 7 points each. And so it's either you get the points or you don't. And then I'll give you feedback, I'll answer your questions. And so essentially, it doesn't have to be super in depth, but I don't just want to see like a bullet point list of you doing the absolute bare minimum in terms of defining the key terms and key concepts. So I want to see that you've actually consumed the information, you put a little thought into it. You can even add your own commentary on things, your own thoughts on things, questions you have, and stuff like that. But again, the instructions for this will be online under the course files and participation. And the first two, I'll really make sure to give feedback like, hey, make sure you go a little bit more in depth here on the key concepts, or, this is more than enough. This is a great job. Like, I'll make sure that you kind of know where you stand. And especially on the first one, I'm not going to like take off points, for little things. It's not going to be petty things. But again, if I took off points or you don't get points for that, feel free to reach out. I'm always available. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you feel like you've done enough, if you feel like you did a good job, feel free to email me. We can discuss it. I'm always open to having those discussions. But this is really just to make sure that you're looking over the material. I think it's really beneficial to kind of review those things and to get your perspective on what are the key terms, what are the key concepts, and any questions you have. I think it's just a good kind of thing to do. A way for you to take notes, really, and kind of have that information compiled over the semester. And last semester, I did it every week. I think it would just be a lot easier if it were just at the end of each section. So, in the event of illness or an emergency, if you cannot complete a section outline, please contact me as soon as possible. Or if you're unable to participate in the course for any reason, maybe you're sick or a family member is sick, please let me know. I'm more than happy to discuss some solutions in an alternate timeline, because I don't want this to be something that is stressful for you all. I know there's a lot going on in the world right now. Things are very unusual. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of chaos. So I don't want this to be super stressful. So just reach out to me, let me know what's going on, and we'll figure it out. So the class YouTube account, you may follow it. Or is it just for your own information to look it up? But again, these videos will be linked through Canvas. Um, but the lectures will be posted by 10:30 a.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. I might just post both lectures at the beginning of the week. I might post them, on those days. It just really depends on the content and kind of what works best for you all. But the YouTube channel is OSU Soc 3223, and right there is the picture that you will see for that particular channel. So a quick overview of the syllabus. So although this is an online class, I expect effort, full participation, and engagement with the materials, and you can expect the same from me. I promise I will go above and beyond to make this a good experience for you. I don't want this to be stressful. I want you to learn. I want you to have a good time. I want the lectures and the assignments to be relevant for you and for what you want to do with your life now and in the future. And please keep in mind, of course, we're not having discussions through the online classroom, but it's going to be a positive space for learning. I want it to be an open space for learning. I want you to be able to present your ideas and questions without, it's a positive space. It's a space to ask questions. It's a space to challenge your own preconceptions, or, to even challenge some of the material, and that's perfectly fine. And I want that to be something that is very much known. And so, again, I want it to be clear that the online classroom is absolutely a safe place for a productive discussion and learning. And you can ask me any question you want. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you disagree with something, or you don't necessarily see what, these different theories are saying, feel free to say that. And we can have that discussion. So there are 3 different areas for which you'll receive points. There's activities, quizzes, and participation points. Your activities are worth 700 points total, meaning that there are 100 points per activity. So these activities are an opportunity for you to reflect on the information and apply what you've learned. So for each section, there will be there'll be an activity per section, meaning that there are 7 activities total, and then there's a bonus activity. So for the bonus activity, let's say we're approaching the end of the semester, you've done all 7 activities. Let's say you just got a 100 on all 7, and you're satisfied with that. You do not have to do the 8th activity. The 8th activity is optional, and it will replace your lowest activity grade. So if you're satisfied with your activity grade at the end of the semester, you don't have to do the 8th activity, and you are finished. You're finished with the course at that point. Quizzes are to test comprehension. They will never be any more than 10 questions. There's a variety of questions that will be asked. That could be multiple choice. That could be multiple answers. Check all that apply. It could be true, false. It could be an essay question. I'm not looking for perfection in the essay questions. It's just oftentimes I will ask questions that are a bit tough, but it's just to get you thinking. And I just want to see that you're thinking about the material. And I'm not looking for a perfect response, or a response that would be similar to someone who, you know, has focused their entire career on that particular theory or topic. But it's just, kind of a tough question that gets you thinking and makes you kind of challenge yourself in terms of the material. But the quizzes will never be more than 10 questions. There'll be 5 to 10 questions each section. So if you'll look at the syllabus, one week there'll be an activity due, the next week will be a quiz. And I designed it that way so that you get the opportunity to reflect on the material and apply it, and kind of have space to learn. Because, right, when you're first learning something, there's no way you're going to fully understand every aspect of it and be able to apply it perfectly. But it gives you that space to learn and grow and make mistakes and really work through the material. And then at the end of each section, there's a quiz. Again, 5 to 10 questions at most, and that's just kind of testing your comprehension on those key ideas, and making sure you really have a solid foundation, for which to you know go beyond each section, because each section kind of builds on the last. And so these will be automatically graded on Canvas. And these are worth 350 points total, meaning that each quiz is worth 50 points. Participation, again, that's the end of each section. You just submit a brief outline identifying the key terms and concepts and any questions you have for me. You'll submit the outline, and like I said, ask any questions you have for me. And when I say each week is worth points, it's technically it's each week is worth points, but you're just turning them in at the end of each section, so every 2 weeks. But it's just kind of saying that, hey, you reviewed the material for both weeks in this section. And that's 50 points total, which doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's approximately like 5% of your grade, I believe. So at the end of the semester, that can certainly, if you've done your participation, yes, it does help your grade quite a bit. But it's, if you're keeping up with your, your outlines that are due at the end of each section, if you're keeping up with those, I promise it will also help you with your activities and quizzes and, getting the most out of the course. And so again, it's a points-based course in these 3 categories. Your first assignment, and here I said it's due Friday. I changed some of the places, but it's actually due Sunday. I just extended that time because I know that this Wednesday is the presidential inauguration. That's, a big event for our country, and I'm assuming that most of you will want to watch that, or at least would probably not want to be, looking over your schoolwork during that time. So, for my in-person class, we're just going to go ahead and have class Friday. So I extended the due date to Sunday for both the in-person section and this online section. And your activity 1 is simply an introduction, just so that I can get to know you a bit better. And so you'll respond to a few questions about the class, yourself, and questions about your interest in social psychology, and what questions you hope to have answered by this class. So it's a very short assignment, shouldn't take you long at all. That is posted on Canvas. Make sure that you click on the modules for Canvas. Everything will be posted to the modules, as well as the course files, but it'll be organized in the modules. And then your quiz 1 is due at the end of next week, as well as your first outline. The first quiz is over the introductory readings and the lecture. The lectures and readings will discuss what social psychology is and the differences between sociological social psychology and psychological social psychology, because there is a difference, although it is a bit confusing that both disciplines have the exact same name. And the purpose of this is just to ensure that we're all on the same page about the scope of sociological social psychology and what types of questions it intends to answer. And so all of this will be posted immediately. So check Canvas. Everything will be posted for you to look over and read and review. So office hours. Again, as I'm sure it was different last semester, this semester is a bit different than we usually do. But it's important that you get the time and attention necessary for you to be successful and get the most out of this class. And I'm open to multiple options for office hours. Ultimately, I want you to choose the option that is right for you. And so some of the options available are we can do a Zoom call. We can, you know, we can schedule a meeting over Skype if you prefer Skype. We can schedule time to meet in my office. I'm perfectly fine with that. My office is a shared office, but neither myself or my office mate have really been in our offices at all in the past year. But if you prefer to meet in person, that is perfectly fine. If you'd rather meet kind of in a private space, my office it's not like a super big space, but there's plenty of room for us to kind of distance ourselves and have a discussion. So, and there's a window. We can open that. It's not super sunny in there. We have a window, but it's always in shade. Um, but we can open that up and meet in that space, and that's perfectly fine. Or we can meet outdoors. We can meet at the patio behind the Arts and Sciences building, or formerly Murray Hall, but now it's Arts and Sciences. We can meet on the patio out there. There's some tables out there, or at least there were. We can meet out there. We can meet at Library Lawn. We can meet at Theta Pond. Kind of anywhere outside on campus is perfectly fine. Last semester, I met with a student at Theta Pond. We just sat on the bench. We just sat on one of the benches and, kind of talked about the class and the student's grade and all that kind of stuff. So that's perfectly fine too. And, it was really nice to kind of get outside on a sunny day and actually get to have a discussion. Last semester, my class was in this huge, huge space. And so there was a lot of distance between all of us. So if you would rather meet in person, we can do that. If you want to meet over Skype or Zoom, that's fine too. Or if you just want to have a phone call, we can also discuss ways to do that. That's also perfectly fine. I'm open to a variety of options. And I recommend that you take advantage of that. If you have questions, just send me an email. We'll figure it out. But they are by appointment only. And then moving on to a contingency plan. So in the event that I become ill, there are two options. And of course, I can't predict the future, but I think it's good to know what you all would prefer, what works best for you. I want to make sure to accommodate you as best as I can. So there's two options. The first is I can have another instructor temporarily take over the course, meaning that they'll kind of moderate the material, do the grading until I'm able to do so myself. Or, and again, if you kind of want more stability and that more certainty, another instructor can just completely take over the course. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll necessarily, they can't really change the syllabus. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll use my materials, but they will be doing the grading and moderating the course for the remainder of the semester. So be thinking about that in your first activity. This is something you'll be asked about. I just want to know what works best for you guys, what you would prefer. So yeah, just be thinking about that and what would make the most sense for you as a student. So your timeline from here into the next week. So your activity 1, complete that and submit it to the Dropbox by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Again, it's a very short assignment. It's just asking questions so that I can get to know you as a person, as a student. Just give me an idea of who you are, especially since we won't be able to meet each other in person, most of you at least. So make sure that you have that submitted by Sunday. And that will also ask you about your preferences in terms of the contingency plan in the event that I become ill. Review the supplementary videos that are posted for next week's module, as well as the lectures. And then start working on the assigned reading, take notes, and highlight key points. This is just a brief overview of what is social psychology to give you a good idea of that. There will be questions on your quiz that are asked from this reading. And so each week with the quizzes, there will be a reading that accompanies that as well. So for the quizzes, there will be a weekly reading that is posted to Canvas as well. So keep an eye out for those. I try to make the readings as short as possible. Some of them are a little longer than others, but I try to keep them as brief as I can because I know that nobody or few people want to do a bunch of like 20 or 30 page readings. So I try to keep them fairly short. And it's just, like I said, a brief overview of what is social psychology each week's reading. I tried to pick ones that were interesting, that were exciting to read, and that weren't particularly long, and that were also easy to read because some articles are so dense, they're not exciting at all. So I tried to pick good ones and short ones so that you all don't have to spend an obscene amount of time reading them. And then complete your first quiz by next Friday at 11:59 p.m. So again, just to clarify, this week you will open up activity 1. You will tell me a little bit about yourself and what you prefer for a contingency plan. Then moving into next week, you'll watch the lectures and the supplementary videos, which those are optional, but I think they really do help kind of add to the material. And then you'll complete the brief reading. And then by Friday, you will take your first quiz. And I know that sounds like a lot, but um, it's really not too much. Your first activity is very short. Your first quiz is just to kind of get us all on the same page and kind of make sure we're all using the same terminology and we all know what sociological social psychology is. And so that's due Friday at 11:59 p.m. Virtually every assignment, if not every assignment, will be due at 11:59 p.m. So outline for next week. So next week, I can answer any questions you have after the first week, and we will discuss an introduction to sociological social psychology, what sorts of questions prompted the development of social psychology, and an overview of key terms and concepts, as well as comparing and contrasting these particular different areas of social psychology. So next week, we will discuss what is social psychology. So, again, you know what this class will be about, what sorts of things we will discuss, and what sorts of questions we can answer using these materials. So, in the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out. I will respond to you as soon as possible. The beginning of each semester, particularly during a pandemic, can be quite hectic. But I will get back to you as soon as possible and make sure that your questions are answered. Just feel free to reach out. I'm really excited for this semester, and I look forward to getting to know each of you over the next 16 weeks. But other than that, that's it. I hope you all have a great first week back, and I hope to have a great semester. Thanks.